ichomukwa, saparano ichomukwa, saparano ichomukwa, kashi ichomukwa takwe, kashi ichomukwa takwe, iarinya ichomukwa, iarinya ichomukwa, taipako pereno, iarinya ichomukwa, kashi ichomukwa takwe, saparano ichomukwa, seranena ichomukwa, kaya pena ichomukwa, taipako pereno, kaya pena ichomukwa, taipako pereno, seranena ichomukwa.
O orvalho da manhã e as estrelas são aliados dos Kumã em seus procedimentos para acalmar o calor da terra e o coração das pessoas. Para eles, o orvalho da manhã é a saliva da...
For them, mist is the rain of the morning and of the constellations. That's why the Kumwa pay attention to the weather. Good evening and welcome. I want to welcome you to this activity at the Katatu Institute, a key icon in Brazilian filmmaking with a long history, a number of projects in different villages in the Amazon region. Welcome, Mari, and I also want to welcome the representative of Palma, the two filmmakers from Ecuador. The purpose is to have a dialogue about forest, about cinema, and the importance cinema represents for forests. This is something that we mention in a lot of interviews. It is not only necessary to give a camera to the indigenous peoples. It is about giving them the possibility of telling their stories, the stories they want to tell. It is necessary to give them a voice so they can defend their culture, so they can defend their environment and their traditions and their own lives. This is a way of keeping indigenous peoples alive. Let us remember the persecution that they suffer, and I would imagine the same situation happens in Ecuador. Miguel and Yandan, welcome to this session. You are here with a number of works. Tuku, for instance, so I want to welcome you for your participation. I want to welcome you for your presence. I am not going to say exactly good evening because I am sure there are some places where it is almost daytime, or good afternoon. So thank you very much for being here, for participating in this dialogue. I am also a producer, a film producer. I also have a number of documentaries. So I am going to ask Mari to start talking about her opinion about on the Global Landscape Forum. So we can have a window for important dialogues about the Amazon region and how we can make progress, how we can have a forest despite the dictatorship that we have right now, and how audiovisual materials can help us. Sorry. Good evening, Lorena. It is a great pleasure to be here with you. Audiovisual material, AV material, has always been present It is a way of reaching out to different types of audiences. In this case, we are talking about an audience that is not really in contact with the Amazon region, these indigenous communities. For a long time, AV materials like films have been fulfilling this goal to become a link so as to give access to people, access to issues of importance for the Amazon region and for everyone. It is about having access to different narratives, the indigenous narrative especially. This is where we focus our efforts. We train filmmakers, indigenous filmmakers, because we want them to express their vision themselves, their vision about themselves, their vision about their world, and the indigenous vision about life. It is very important to have these type of spaces, to have these presence. It is important to have these films and these filmmakers. We have witnessed an increase in the number of these type of filmmakers. So we're going to talk about this type of cinema. This is an experience that is quite similar to what has been done years ago in smaller villages. You have been coordinator of this type of projects. Now we have the training of indigenous women filmmakers, female filmmakers. This is a film that I had the chance to see. And it was quite emotional because this is an important film. This is an important film because it participated in the Amazon Filmmaking Festival. And then we're going to continue with our friends from Ecuador. They are going to see how their film came about. I don't know if I am pronouncing the name correctly, but I would like to know about the origin of your cooperative. And I would like to know for how long you have been working on this type of films, if you always had this perspective, if you always had this willingness to speak up, not only for the benefit of the Quechua people, but also to speak up about political situations that are creating a tension in Ecuador. We have the case of a hydroelectrical plant, and there is another one about gender issues. Now we have female leaders that are fighting, that are continuing the struggle. So I would like to know how your organization came to be and how many filmmakers are part of this project. That is to say, your objectives and the vision of your documentaries. Hello everyone, how are you doing? My name is Yanda. I am a Zapanda. Right now we are at the heart of the jungle in Ecuador in the Zapara region. We are at 35 minutes, well, we are 35 minutes into the jungle by plane. And right now we are training filmmakers, young people especially, female and male filmmakers, because we want them to learn about this world of technology. We were born in the jungle, we were born in the forest. And right now we are experiencing an urgent situation in the Amazon region. And in the world, we are one of the last cultures protecting the Amazonia. the Zapata people have expressed themselves because and we want to talk about our dreams. Since I was very little, I had some images. I had images of a camera. I was born in a place without cameras, but even though I had visions of devices capable of recording, those were my dreams. When I started to grow, I started going places and I started meeting brothers and sisters who were into filmmaking. And I said to myself, I wanted to do this when I was little. I wanted to record images and to show them elsewhere. And this was the origin of this group. The Zapata always talk about dreams when we wake up, because dreams are like a film. And now we want to tell the world how the jungle, how the spirits of the jungle, how we live in the jungle. We want to tell people that we don't live like in the past. Many films show us all naked. They show us like evil creatures. But we want to tell a different story. We want to tell about the wonderful things of the Amazon region and the many things that we are losing because of the development of technology, the oil industry, roads. By means of filmmaking, we want people to know that we only have one planet, and this planet is the one that allows us to have dreams, that allows us to film. We are the only ones who can take care of the world. This is our dream, the dream of the Taonera, the dreams of our brothers and sisters. And they are watching us, so we send our greetings from the core of the jungle. And now Miguel will speak to you. He's part of this process, a process that we are building in this land. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Well, I have to say that I am very thankful for the invitation. It is great to participate, as Jan was saying, to participate as representative of our people in this filmmaking project, a project that we have been working for a number of years. In order to talk about our own visions by means of AV. And the idea is to take ownership of cinema tools and to use these tools in order to express our own vision. It is about learning things. Throughout history, we have always had different hierarchies. And in the cinema, filmmakers or films show indigenous peoples in different ways, and we have to break that colonial perspective. We want to create our own stories, our own narratives. And it is good that we can do it right from the villages of our community, because as Yanda was saying, it is not only about the Amazon region, it is also about talking about our cosmology, our specific characteristics. We can even have fiction filmmaking. We are also trying to do some cartoons. So, cinema is a universal language, and we think it is a very important tool in order to reach our communities and to reach out to the world, in order to share our experiences. As Yanda was saying, it is about dreaming, it is about expressing our dreams based on a script in this case. Right now we have a number of projects. Some of them will be shown on the festival, and we are very thankful for giving us this space, for allowing us to share with other colleagues, other filmmakers in the Amazon region, because it's about learning from each other. It's about exchanging or sharing ideas. So, yes, cinema is a tool that will allow us to continue existing despite the external struggles caused by the system. We can even promote our own language by means of AV media. We can record these languages, and this is going to be very useful in the future. Well, thank you very much. I think I don't know how to continue with this poetic introduction, because Yanda really expressed with details. He wants to make films for indigenous peoples. So, and it is about recording their dreams, as he says. This is something very poetic. How can they become owners of those tools? He has explained this. So this is a way of changing this perspective by means of these new tools. It is about telling these very old stories about their origins. This is something very important. This is something, and they need to express these stories by themselves, not through someone else. In order to multiply knowledge, especially right now, we have mobile phones. Imagine, well, you have a lot of material that you are producing thanks to the different workshops. Now, Mari, I would like to ask a direct question, and maybe you can ask questions yourselves. But Mari, let us think about the process. We start with a workshop. We start training on this vision in order to tell stories that are not old. We have very good examples, and indigenous filmmakers are using, for instance, dreams or very poetic elements, like in the Tuku communities. There's something very nice when it comes to women, in the case of Irasema. It is all about experiences, the experiences that we have and that we can use in order to show how nature works. And you can anticipate the future by thinking of this. You can keep it for later. So, can you tell me about the process, the workshop process, the process to come about with these ideas to give voice by means of AV means? How is it like? And then Miguel and Yanda can talk about this later on. Well, when I started working on this, when I started training on AV, it was long before I came to Brazil. My work was based in France, and I had a nice experience. I got to go to New Caledonia with the Kanak people. I was working on my first film in Brazil, and I was invited to a workshop there. There I realized about the dynamic that was created. And we are talking about young filmmakers in this training. These young people became owners of the camera. They became owners of this new tool, and they started looking for stories in their communities, the stories of their forefathers. These closed the gap between young generations and older and more traditional generations. This was a way of reconnecting people. This was like recovering something that hadn't disappeared. You know, young people are always told off by their elders because they don't want to follow their traditions, and the young people also want to hear the stories from the elders, but sometimes the elders don't want to tell the stories anymore. So now we have filmmaking, and filmmaking was able to bring back this type of enchantment, if we can call it like that. And this is what Miguel was saying. This is an interest that we are creating, an interest in our own personality. This is an external and an internal factor at the same time. When I came to Brazil to work, and this is something that I still hear, well, I heard, or I realized that leaders wanted us to train people. There are two fields of interest. One of the interests is to tell others these stories, to show them who we are, how we feel. That's wonderful, and that's something very important, and this is something that they are doing. The other interest is to tell stories from within. Knowledge holders are dying. How are we going to make sure that this transition of knowledge actually takes place? Because now we have a problem of transmission of knowledge. So it is about telling stories for myself, for my people, for my family. Our elders are very concerned about this. When I talk about young people, I am talking about men and women with children. They might be 30-something years old. It is this group who is interested in filmmaking. So it becomes a tool. It becomes a communication tool, a way of communicating with other peoples, communicating with other indigenous peoples and with Western culture. It is all about improving. It is about revitalizing. I believe in processes very much. I give a lot of emphasis on processes. So when I start working with the different communities, we involve many people. It is not only the cameraman. A complete dynamics is created, a dynamics involving ideas, stories. When the workshop actually works, there is a very interesting process because everyone becomes interested. After filming, when watching the materials, well, we have to watch all the pieces because this is going to be food for thought, and we are going to create incredible environments, incredible filmmaking spaces. When you see when you watch an indigenous film, you realize that the filmmakers were actually indigenous. We can tell because there is a characteristic in the film. There might be an author, but in this case we are talking about a co-authorship. So, yes, there are many important points. You have mentioned many important points, but there are two things that call my attention. And we have to go with Miguel and Yanda. Miguel, Yanda, You can speak. You can speak at any time. You can make comments. Feel free to participate. I am very happy to have you here because I can learn from you, as usual. But what Mari was saying is very important to tell about inside and outside stories. So how do you do that? How do you dance? How do you tell about your dreams? And how do you tell about those pressing issues that are having an impact on your rights? You want to have a film about the hydroelectrical plant and the right to the land. So how do you choose your topics? How do you say, I am going to make a film about this, or I am going to deal with this issue because I know this is going to be important for future generations? And I am going to use the cinema as a vector in order to preserve knowledge. How do you make your final decision? Again, thank you very much. Let me tell you about the origin of our ideas, that is to say, our dreams. This is the result of a collective effort. This is something that we are doing in different territories. We have Quichuas, we have mixed race people, we have people from different places. We have the mestizos as well. I have always thought that in order to create something, we need to include diversity. When we connect, something is born. I have had a number of experiences. I had experiences when I was a child. Many people came to give us different workshops, but it was very sad, especially in the case of filmmaking workshops, because they only gave us the knowledge and then they left, but they didn't leave behind materials like a laptop or a camera in order to practice. And right now we have a camera, right now we have the equipment, and we need to change these learning methodologies. That's why we are working in different places, in different cultures. Our school is called Tinkas. With Tinkas, it is not only about giving a workshop. No, I always tell my friends, well, this was a situation when I was little. Now we understand. Now we have to make sure that wherever we go, we have to make sure that all these spaces need to have a laptop and a camera so they can start practicing the knowledge that we are giving them. I started, like many, pushing buttons on the camera, but it is very exciting about there's something exciting about learning, but we have to get rid of these older methodologies. As I was telling you, they brought the knowledge, but they didn't give us the tools. They would only say, I am giving you the knowledge, but then I leave with everything. And this is something that we are changing in our experience now that we are trying to tell the stories of our forefathers. Filmmaking, in our case, is about resisting, telling good things from within, how we wake up, how plants speak to us, how trees speak to us, how the river is linked to Anaconda. We do not pick the videos. If something is not happening, then what's the point? It has to be happening right now. The Amazonia, the Amazon region, And not only the Amazon region, many places are being destroyed by men. They are being destroyed by men. That's why, as part of the Taunero people, we have said we need to do something. We are capable of doing something, and we can do it by means of this school. And now let me pass the microphone to Miguel. Cinema is a universal language. The different ways of producing wealth. We have a number of them. And right now, we are on this path. It's about filming our land. This is our main concept, I would say. And this brings about many changes because we have to be looking for actual realities, realities to which societies and communities feel related. Ecuador is a small country, so we are more connected. And because of that, we have this diversity. It was easy for us to be diverse enough in the filmmaking process. I studied cinema in school. We were given a lot of technical concepts. They are very important, of course, but when it comes to the practice in the field, the situation is very different. You have to adapt and you have to question many things. And this is something that we have learned. So I would say we have evolved. We have concentrated on the land and we have concentrated on different realities, realities people feel related to. There are many realities that we can tell using different narrative languages. In the festival, we have many documentaries, but we also have fiction filmmaking, and this is something that we are trying to develop in order to promote visual elements of the different communities. I speak from the point of view of decolonization. I come from a small community. Maybe in Brazil the situation is different. In the 60s and 70s in Ecuador, everything was very ethnographic from the perspective of the authorities, minimizing the indigenous peoples. We have gained many rights over the last few years, and right now we have more education. And right now it's all about going back to the land, going back to our territories. It is about questioning and it is about sharing with others, and that's why we are here. It is all about relearning. It's about shaping the project in order to develop our own techniques, more techniques of our own. And as I was saying, this is something that you are going to see in our videos. Tuku, the film, has a perspective which is quite the perspective of our co-worker. Cosmovision is very important for us. So in addressing cosmovisions, we need to find a balance. The cinema is about a practice. I don't know, maybe in the future we're going to be questioning our own forms and we're going to continue evolving because cinema is about experimenting. It is about looking for new concepts in order to reflect our own realities. And this is what we are building. Oh. I think this is something very interesting. It is about adapting. It is about using the cinema language that we were taught But we were not given the tools. And I also liked this decolonization perspective. We have the tools, we have a number of possibilities. In Tauma, we have, I am sure you have different languages that you can use depending on the interactions. The Sapawa, the Quechua. Mari, I am sure you agree with Miguel. Yes. Yes, how to make these films by understanding ourselves as individuals. And this is something that you mentioned previously. Indigenous filmmakers have a very specific way of authoring films, something that many other filmmakers cannot do because they don't have that degree of connection, at that level of connection with that universe. So what do you think about what Miguel was saying at the end of his participation? Well, I agree with Yanda and Miguel, both. I think this idea of coming to the village and teaching people and then leaving with all the equipment, well, that's something stupid. I was always concerned about developing workshops and taking these AV capability to different regions, including the cameras. Obviously, this involved a lot of effort. We were very democratic, but obviously there is always a cost. So it implies buying equipment, for instance. And that's something very expensive. That's why our work was very experimental at the beginning. It was not possible. Well, I cannot imagine workshops, 3-day workshops with the participation of 50 people, and then you leave with the camera. I don't believe in that type of work. I cannot do that type of things. And I agree with them completely. And we are experiencing a different moment in comparison to the beginning. Back then, we didn't have internet, for instance. My work in Brazil started in 1998, 1999. Our cameras were VHS. We would have to travel with a lot of equipment. And we would produce incredible films. But now we have mobile phones. And now it is easier to operate. It is easier to take these devices and make a film. However, talking about decolonization, well, this is something that we identified in teleformats. Interviews, for instance. And this is a way of doing it, obviously. It is about deconstructing. It was part of our work. If you only follow teleformats, then this is what you are going to do. Many people think it's about having a camera and that you are going to have something very professional, but this is not how things work. We have to deconstruct some ideas that are deep-rooted. With Instagram and Facebook, we are witnessing the same problem. People are doing things with a lot of formats, with something very instantaneous. It is easy consumption. You can see these videos in a couple of minutes, and then you continue with another video. I like documentaries. There are some things which require time because you want them to be deep. Though we have easy access to the equipment, well, this is not for free, but it is easier. But we have to talk about this reformatting perspective. Many people are concerned about reformatting. They want to do things from their own perspective, from their own reading of the world. And I think this is a process. This is something that is actually built. Now we have new generations. I see my students are now teachers, and they are at a different level. Those processes, and there are many others in the United States, Canada, Italy, Australia. Well, now this is a stronger statement. The statement of the author is much stronger. I am talking about a shared authorship. And it goes away from the standard. We were in the deconstruction process and we were wondering about culture. What is culture? Is this a ritual? No. Is it the way how we educate children? Maybe. And we are not talking about rituals. Culture is part of everything. So we are still helping in the deconstruction of ideas. But we don't have the indigenous essence, and we needed to change directions so people can be freed from those preconceived ideas of what's good. And I think this is the pathway that they are trying to follow. This is the pathway that they are trying to implement, and some other groups are doing the same. Yes, and this gives us a lot of hope when it comes to the different courses that we are developing. This type of initiatives, this type of perspectives. I know there are some other projects. This is on the move. We have readily available films or films that are being made as we speak. So, Mari has been talking about the experience. It is about showing that indigenous people are not savage. We are talking about an openness. It is about looking at things following the pre-established way of looking at things, pre-established by the capitalist world. And it is good that filmmakers are using these tools. Now they are working on fictional filmmaking. They are trying to go into this type of possibility, or cosmovision, if you want to call it like that. So, can you tell us a little bit, and you can say whatever you want about the comments that we are making right now, but how about connecting filmmaking with the jungle? We have the Global Landscapes Forum. And here we talk about this duplicity. That's why we have this festival here. So how do we establish this relationship? As I was saying, it is always important to hear different points of view, what's been done in different areas of the region. Now we are listening to Maria's experience. We didn't know about her experience, and there are many things that we can learn from this, many things that we can copy. Well, not really copy, but she has given us very good ideas. These are things that we need to see in every territory, because every territory has got different features and different specific characteristics. In the case of the Amazonia, the Amazon region, well, talking about the environment, well, ever since the 70s, we have experienced this extractivism by the government, by the mining industry, by water companies. So we have had a lot of common ground. I think that's why the first filmmakers in the Amazon region like talking about struggles or the environment. That's why we need to continue using these tools. We need to continue strengthening our communities by means of workshops. They might look like a very small effort, but it's about telling about the experiences, the threads that are continuous in our regions. It is about documenting, it is about supporting. Sometimes it is difficult because of the geography. That's why we think these workshops, these AV workshops, need to be a continuous element in the territory in order to create this new language. And this is something that we are going to improve. This is only a seed that we are planting, but in a few years we are going to see the actual results that will be visible, and these films will be a way of defending the different communities in the Amazon region. But it is not only about. We have other stories to tell, we have other colors to paint in. That's why we think it is very important. The Amazon region, in the Amazon region, nature provides us with a wealth of images. Nature also gives us knowledge, a knowledge that has been transmitted from forefathers to newer generations. But now we're going to have this knowledge on the screen. And we have to take into consideration the fact that we all have different worlds that we want to tell. And we need to tell about these worlds, because if we don't do it, who's going to do it? I am very thankful with my teachers. I haven't a professional education in filmmaking. I have been learning through images. I have been learning through nature, how nature behaves. We are only the voice of nature. If we do not speak up, if we don't tell the world what we have, it is going to be very easy for companies, for mining companies, or it is going to be easy for someone with a different type of knowledge. It's going to be very easy for them to come and harm us. It is going to be very easy to destroy the Amazonia. That's why we have taken this path, the path to train more indigenous people because we want them to be aware of the different problems so they can tell people about their problems. It is not only about withstanding, it is about creating, it is about coming up with solutions tailored to our needs. And this is what we have been doing. This is what we are doing actually. We have the school, the filmmaking school, and our students, both male and female students, are learning about this magical world of filmmaking.
Miguel, você quer completar alguma coisa? Acho que o áudio...
Miguel, did you want to say something else? I think we have some technical problems, but I am going to ask Mary to start with the conclusions because we are coming to the end of this session. Please tell us about the Katitu Institute. What are you doing at the Institute? What are you doing right now? Taking into consideration the overlapping of culture, environment, and indigenous identities, what are the projects that you have nowadays? Well, it is a pleasure to be here with you. It is a pleasure to learn about your experiences. We have a number of projects. The Katitu Institute. At the Katitu Institute, we are focusing on the work of indigenous women. This right from the beginning, when the Institute was created back in 2009. And this year we are starting with 3 different projects. One in alliance with a Canadian Indigenous Association, AFCOMIN, that's the name of the association. We are working together with a number of peoples in Canada, and I think all these works are focusing on this goal to empower indigenous women. Indigenous women in Brazil are currently leaders of many programs. They are leaders of movements. They are leaders of different demonstrating movements, demonstrations. And this is something good because this gives a different flavor to the indigenous movement. This is something that we have had ever since the Europeans came to the Americas. But their voices were louder, and now we are innovating. Women, indigenous women, are expressing by means of poetry, by means of their bodies. They are participating with innovation in discourse, in the way of making politics. And it is a great pleasure. It is a great pleasure. It is great that we can actually do this with them. And that's why they are speaking up. They are telling their own stories. They are telling their own narratives. Narratives related to the cruel situation of Amazon peoples. Or they can be about deeper stories related to their cosmovision. So this is a work that we are doing right now. We have used to hire an indigenous communication consultant, an indigenous woman that is. So we can say that we are still growing, we are still getting stronger. It is a good thing that we are part of this movement, that we are helping indigenous women, because our society forced this lack of symmetry between men and women. And we want their voices to be heard. We want their voices to be on the films. That's the purpose of the Institute. That's the purpose of my film. Because many times people do not talk about that knowledge. So we want to give feature roles to women. Our work at the Institute is helping women to become even more empowered, to find a place of respect. That's wonderful. I think this work, this filmmaking work, is wonderful. Marie, I think this has a lot to do with your professional growth. It is good that we have indigenous filmmaking throughout the world. We want more people like Miguel and Yanda. And it is also great that we have the possibility to have this type of platforms like the Global Forum. These platforms give us the possibility of watching these films. If you are connected, you will be able to see these films throughout these 3 days. I want to thank you for this exchange of ideas. It is like a training class for me because I am learning from your visions, from your cosmovisions, from your techniques. I am learning about life from you and how indigenous filmmaking has a very positive effect. And indigenous filmmaking is like a flag. And now people are understanding that you are the owners of these tools and you are developing very nice dreams with these tools. You are really safeguarding the existence of peoples and the forest. So I want to thank you all and I want to thank the audience. My name is Mari Montenegro, and right now we are going to start, and this is going to be the end of the first conversation on the film festival.
Moya temei kunoro bayan ba mei makin ke ni be ba ban ba ima ba kuniki ima ba kukri na bini kre ni mru te mana mei be go kre kra kamita ju ajo jo kute mei ni u kan ba ni ba kukri ne ba mari me ni kan tem ne boy ka ji te moya kren ka ji ni be ku benali me yo pulutio ba.
We are the Kayapo and we are doing many things. With my knowledge, I have learned how to catch turtles. Español. Oscar, no puedo cambiar.
Tongo okurejo. Ni kamaite. Ni nyate kabenyane naite pukaya amekanga. Yemuka. Ke tateja bego venu ateja ome. Woine ome. Kurija ni ome makabe. Moya ni me akre. Me uati ojua me. One yeni mokaja moya bikemi kunki. Yan ba me makinke. Ngobe ye ne puka obike ngobe ye ni teptu batu mulu krekam tonti tu yemoka. Ate jong puka ka woi moya wai ke ni me yo ngobe ye ke puka no lo mana ba mulu kuni umari mai kai. Ikan ba puka mulu moya kuni ja no. Menyon kukerajaan governo mana medere meiras mana ji carnaval jane ba mai kukra ke nali kati ata jangwai kukeraja me bajo mei kukeraja ni mei ngo be ke puka ko kire ke ba no mei be ngo kra ka ju nei ya mei nyongo be ke mei nyoba no mei be ngo kra nyo mo ya kunija no ngama me ama puka kukri me ama ba no mana mrira mana ngo mei da ka ji ne ba ala koti ka ngoi ka ji ala wori jara ya paka kumane ne ka kaya mane kai mane no
Eu trabalhei com a madeira, derrubada de madeira, há 12 anos. E a pesca também, que fui pescador profissional na região que é do Rio Araguaia, que é encostado, né, da Amazônia. Então, durante 16 anos, né. Eu cortei muito, derrubei muita madeira, né. Destruí muita madeira e muito peixe, né. Peguei muito peixe também, né. Naquela época que, durante o período, né, a gente estava ali. Não tinha consciência que aquilo estava sendo destruído, que achar que aquilo era certo, né? Só que não era certo. O Parque do Cantão, ele é muito bonito e essa quantidade de lago que tem dele, eu hoje mesmo, eu conheço todos quais. Que eu falei de 860 lagos, eu conheço mais da metade, conheço uns 700 andando por dentro dele. O canto aqui sempre da Jaó, canta aqui o Mutum. Aqui também os tuiuiu, né? As galças, né? A gente escuta a cigana. E de outro animal a gente escuta também da onça. A onça ela faz. É assim que ela faz. Que o jacaré ele tava. Era isso que estava fazendo naquela hora, lá. Então, eu acho muito bonito isso aqui, essa região. É a última região que nós temos aqui, que é desse jeito aqui, São Parque do Cantão. Aí me chamou para mim trabalhar no parque, para ajudar a conservar, né? Que eu conhecia muito, então eu entrei. Nós temos muitos problemas aqui, e os problemas são a pesca ilegal, da caça, a soja e as queimadas. Mas quando é mês de agosto o fogo é grande e eles não tem como dominar ele, o fogo pula, de aceiro em aceiro pula. Aí vai e queima tudo. Para abrir terreno para poder plantar. Aí é assim, que nem no parque, aí, quando nos começos, teve a pendência do parque, nos começos assim, que ele vinha gateando no começo e tal, não tinha isso aquilo aí. Então o dinheiro do ARPA, ele veio esse dinheiro para benefício de barco, carro, gasolina, né? Diesel e para pagar diária para fiscal, tudinho isso aí. Então ele cresceu muito. O cantão chegou um número muito alto assim de preservação muito. Então esse movimento foi um movimento muito bom. Vem os pesquisadores, a gente acompanha ele aqui, né, no dia a dia sobre as pesquisas aqui. É a anta, a onça, sempre as ariranhas, né? A gente tem observado ela. É muito interessante demais, né? Do dia a dia dela, às vezes meio-dia, no descanso dela. Então a gente vai ver ela pescando, dormindo em cima de um pau deitado, entendeu? E as outras brincando com ela. É que ela faz assim, ó. É assim que ela faz, essa ariranha. Se não tiverem o parque, então quer dizer que eu hoje não teria, eu não estaria aqui e não teria o que eu ganho. Porque no caso, além de eu ser beneficiado por ele aqui, e cada vez mais eu proteger ele, então durante o meu tempo, minha vida, eu vou ser protegido e vou ter alguma coisa, ou que seja, ou citar o que seja, e a natureza continua no seu lugar. Todo dia que eu levanto, que eu olho, eu enxergo aquela natureza na minha presença. Tudinho para mim, isso é a alegria do mundo.
It's not enough to create protected areas like Cantão State Park. We must also manage these and other conservation areas so biodiversity thrives and people like Juarez benefit from them now and for many years to come. To learn more about what WWF is doing to make this happen around the world, visit us at worldwildlife.org/EFL.
Los árboles son los responsables de la vida en la Tierra tal y como la conocemos. Los bosques regulan el clima y son necesarios para afrontar la crisis climática. Mi nombre es Tatiana Espinosa y me dedico desde el año 2010 a conservar un bosque en peligro de tala ilegal. El bosque amazónico es un sistema muy complejo. Chihuahuaco es un árbol milenario que tiene una edad promedio de 700 años en este bosque. Aquí, en esta área que conservamos con Arbio, protegemos 916 hectáreas.
We protect over 916 hectares of Amazon rainforest. We study the species of trees in danger of illegal logging to know their age, life cycle, and ecology. The oldest tree we've identified so far in this forest is 1,329 years old. These trees need to be protected due to their current indiscriminate logging by the parquet flooring industry. The Amazon rainforest is responsible for the water and the glaciers and snow peaks of the Andes, which in turn supply the rivers and water reserves of most cities in the South American coast. The Amazon is entering a point of no return, that is, a process of savannization. The rainforest is drying up due to the deforestation and degradation. If we continue like this, in a few years, the lives of millions of people will be affected. I believe our generation did not know to respect nature, and I deeply lament the level of destruction we've reached. We now have to focus on stopping destruction. We win nothing by planting trees if more than 10 million hectares are lost every year in the natural forests of the world. Those are simply irreplaceable. The ecosystems must be kept healthy. We need to stop making them sick. What doesn't do good for the planet does not do good for us humans. We're all connected and we'll have a great responsibility. Siempre me levanto diciendo, hay una aventura para mí.
It always was something I wanted to explore.
When we go out into nature, it heals us.
It's magical.
The autism helps me visualize what I want to capture.
The wilderness is a drug I couldn't live without.
Get purposeful.
Take a little bit of time to educate yourself.
Once we become aware, then we can act.
It can change your life.
Wow, that makes me really excited.
Gracias, nos vemos mañana.
Well, thank you very much. That's it for this session. See you tomorrow.